Are there any drummers in the house?
I play percussion. That's because he couldn't play anything else. Shut up.
Come here, dude.
Hey, man. Did you touch my drum set? I am warning you right now, if you touch my drum, I will stab you in the neck with a knife. Not quite my tempo. It's all good. No worries. Here we go.
Hey guys, if you could leave a positive review on iTunes, go subscribe to the podcast. That really, really helps tremendously. A lot. So if you could go and hit subscribe, you've got the podcast app on your phone, so you can actually go and hit subscribe. If you have an iPhone, hit subscribe to that bad boy. It helps out a lot. Positive reviews, and especially if it's an episode you like. If it's like, I don't know, Mark O'Connell from Take About Sunday, leave a good review like, hey, loved hearing Mark on the podcast, love to hear him again. Things like that really helps out. You can also go like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, Twitter. Also, you can go support us on the Patreon page, and also you can use PayPal as well, whatever way you like. All of it comes back to help the podcast, and I would greatly, tremendously love you forever. Thank you. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads Podcast. My name is Daniel, and this is episode 91 with Regal Tip Drumsticks. How awesome is that? I got to talk to Frank. Frank is the artist relations for Regal Tip Drumsticks, and it was a great conversation. I learned a ton about drumsticks and like the history about them. I didn't know that Regal Tip was such a, they kind of were like the leaders in the industry back in the 50s and still are. And I didn't know all these things, the techniques of how they became, how drumsticks came about. And it was great hearing the story of Frank's grandfather, who was one of the first Regal Tip artists. So he has a history connected back to Regal Tip through his family. So that was a great thing to learn about that. And like I said, I learned a ton about, the industry and how things are made and, the things they were doing that was, innovative at the time and still are to this day. People who love Regal Tip sticks will, they keep coming back. They'll try different brands and they always come back. So it was great to hear the story of how, he came involved with Regal Tip sticks. And while I was recording this intro, I hear this truck coming up my driveway. I'm like, what is that? And it was some drumsticks from Regal Tip. So I'm going to be doing a big giveaway for our 60,000 followers on Instagram. So we're going to give away some Regal Tip sticks. We've got a 12-inch vinyl splash cymbal giving away. We've got some stuff from, we got a t-shirt from Predator Percussion. We got some stuff from T&R Products, the Booty Shakers. We got a nice drumstick case as well to give away from New Folder drumstick cases. So we got a ton of stuff we're going to be giving away, hopefully adding some more stuff as well. So I'm excited. I don't know, it just seems like all of a sudden I'm getting this this wave of all these awesome drummers and companies coming on board and supporting the podcast. I'm just floored by the generosity of the drumming community and the willingness to come on the podcast and talk to me. I just feel like I'm just some guy, in North Carolina, just who loves drums and loves talking to people, but it's trying to resonate with people, and I love that. It's such a humbling experience. So thank you to everybody who has been listening for a long time. Thank you to everybody who's come on board in the past while. Love all of you. So just thank you to Regal Tip. Thank you to Frank for being on. And here it is, episode 91 with Regal Tip. Keep it regal, son. Keep it regal. Hey guys, welcome back to the Drumheads Podcast. My name is Daniel, and I am joined by Frank from Regal Tip. How are you, Frank?
I'm well, Daniel. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
I'm doing fantastic. It's been a good day. I don't know. Today I just woke up and just in a good mood. So it's always fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So where to begin? Let's see. Let's start with your drumming background. So did you come? The question I ask a lot is, do you come from a musical family, or are you kind of like the black sheep like me, just on your own?
Yeah, no. So I've come from a long line of drummers, I guess. My grandfather, Sonny DiMaria, he played in the Buffalo, jazz scene for a while. He was a drummer. and huge influence on my playing. And my dad played, and actually my cousin is Gary Malaber, played with Steve Miller Band and Van Morrison, and so kind of drumming's always been a part of me in my life and growing up. And so yeah.
Nice. So who was that first drummer that really stood out to you? Was it a family member, or was it like someone you heard on the radio?
It was. Well, I'd always gone to like VW posts to see my grandfather play, and he, probably from the age of like 6 or 7 years old, and just kind of watched him play. And then he ended up teaching me just simple rudiments, doubles and paradiddles, and I thought it was fascinating. And then as I kind of grew up and kept seeing him play different shows, he'd call me up and play, with his band. And as he got older and let me sit in for a couple songs, which I thought was the coolest thing in the world. And playing like Brown Eyed Girl at like 14 years old at a VW post, it was like an arena. It was like an arena gig for me,
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Sure.
Yeah.
Nice. So was it something you kind of just naturally gravitated toward? Was like, oh, there's drums, I must play that kind of thing, or was it kind of? Yeah, I'm always curious because some people their parents kind of force them into it because it's like, oh, you got to do the family thing kind of situation.
Yeah. No, so I gravitated towards it for sure. It's actually funny because I started playing drums, and then for some odd reason, I don't know if it was just like me being a 16-year-old kid going through puberty and wanting to learn how to play Wonderwall on a acoustic guitar, but I wanted to like be a guitar player forever. And then I was like, this isn't working, and I just kind of gravitated back towards drums, and I'm just like, this makes sense to me. Everything kind of just made sense to me. So
I totally hear you there. Like I tried picking up the bass. I just don't have the finger dexterity to do it, so it's like it's frustrating. And I'm like, what am I going to practice, drums or the bass? I always go to the drums. It's just easier for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way.
So who was that first drummer that was like mainstream? That really like stood out to you? Like, was it someone like John Bonham or someone else?
So I told my father that I wanted to really start playing drums, and they ended up helping me get like my first drum set. It was like a like Pro Beat or something that they had put on some online site or whatever, and I go, I want to play drums. And my dad gave me Exit Stage Left, Neil Peart. And, he's like, learn this and we'll get you a better kit. And I'm like, and I guess that's just a thing for all parents out there. If you like don't want your kids upgrading drums right away, give them a Rush album and tell them to learn it before they can have a new one.
Oh yeah.
I went through that thing just like for hours and hours and hours. But so, of course, Neil Peart was, and I don't mean to have that like cop out answer, but it was Neil. And then, I really, really got into jazz in like high school. I played in all the jazz bands, and I was a band nerd. And, of course, the classic guys, the Buddy Rich, Elvin Jones, Joe Jones, they all, Purdy. I was just fascinated with how they played and what they were able to do with so little. The credits that they have on so many records as I came up with playing jazz. I mean, those guys were huge influences. And then, your Stuart Copelands, Jeff, all over the board, but big influences that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's funny. There's a lot of people who say Neil Peart, but don't really verbalize it sometimes. They're kind of like, they're embarrassed by it. I'm like, what? It's all right. I'm one of those guys. I was hugely influenced by Don Henley. You don't hear a lot of people saying, oh, Don Henley's my influence. It's usually John Bonham, but you just got to be honest with what's your choice. And I'm like, yeah, Don Henley.
That's amazing. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So you did the whole, you said you were a band nerd, so was I. So was that, more or less just to keep you occupied? Because that was what it was for me. It was just to keep my my drumming in many places as I could do it. Church, marching bands, all that. Was that kind of your attitude toward it?
Yeah, honestly, it's just one thing after another. Whatever I could get involved with is, swing choir and
yeah.
I mean, I had a whole bedazzled red vest. I'm not, afraid to admit it here. And did that and did the church drumming, did everything I could. I played in bands in high school as well, and did some smaller tours and stuff with some bands in high school and even in college and stuff like that. But yeah, just wherever I could play, I played, you know?
Yeah. And it gives you a good foundation of like how to play with other bands. You know, you can do stuff on the fly real quick. You know, if you've got a well-versed playing, places, you've played in church, you played, rock bands, you can hop between genres real easily. Well,
but yeah, certainly not by any means like the best drummer out there, but I definitely, anyone I play with, I at least pride myself on the ability to be versatile, and because I've played so many different genres and had to figure out how to play a good shuffle on the fly, or had to figure out how to play, a funk beat on the fly without having real kind of education about it. And then eventually learned what the heck I was playing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, that's what that looks like. Or,
Well, who, did you learn to like read the music and stuff like that? Because I faked my way through, high school and stuff like that. Like I can't read sheet music to save my life, probably because I'm dyslexic, so it just all turns into a on the screen or on the page. So I always find it fascinating if people can actually hone that in. That's tough.
Oh no, I totally faked it. Totally like I was in I forget what it like. We had like the Sammy Nestico blue books, and we were playing so much Basie stuff, and I went and like listened to like Little Darling, like 88 Basie Street, like 100 times. Then I showed up to Wednesday night jazz band rehearsal and like played it flawlessly, but wasn't turning the pages when we were supposed to turn the pages. And like everyone was just like, what's wrong with this kid? So, and then, eventually my band instructor, his name Russ Owens, an amazing trumpet player, came out to me and he goes, you don't know how to read music. And I said, you're right. So he's like, we're going to learn and you're going to do it and you're going to figure out what you're playing if this is what you want to get serious about. And he challenged me like just crazy, absolutely crazy to, really hone in on the craft and read. And, I figured it out, did all like the NISMA stuff and all that. And,
oh, wow.
And haven't gone back to reading in a while. But for 5 years, I was a chart champ. And then I just, haven't really gone back to it. But I wouldn't want to sit here and discourage anybody from, taking that craft seriously. I wish something I had stayed with, because people who can read are just, and read well, explain the craft so much better, I think.
Oh, yeah. I regret it too. And, I wish the dyslexia didn't get in the way, but, it's one of those things I find so fascinating, because it's almost like a separate skill from even just playing drums, just to read music.
I agree.
You can play drums, but if you can play drums and read sheet music, you're like gold, especially if you're really wanting to do like studio stuff. That's the thing I hear a lot from studio drummers is learn how to read music, then work on your beat.
Yeah. I mean, I talk to artists, all day long. That's my job obviously here, but, so, and I have this conversation with so many of them, and I'm like, what do you do with, when you go into a session, what are you doing and how are you approaching it? A lot of like the Nashville guys, and it's so much to do with just getting in there, reading a chart perfectly, taking cues from, who's directing it, and, really laying it down. And, and that kind of ties so much into like, overplaying and the dynamics of how you're approaching the kit. A lot of these guys are just, play what's on the chart. And if there's calls for, some, the ability to open up, I don't know. That's where those guys shine. It's just being able to stay in that pocket, and I really envy a drummer that can do it, because I'm like such a notorious overplayer.
I hear you. That the struggle is real, my friend. Every time I sit down with the kit, I'm like, all right, let's just working on the groove, and the groove goes blah, just goes everywhere. But
I always sit down and just be like, all right, today I'm going to learn a variation of a Purdy shuffle and keep it straight. And then I end up just doing like Bonham paradiddles or Bonham triplets rather for like an hour, and then I go home. So it's good.
Well, and right now I've got my set. I'm looking at my kit right now, and it's set up. I've got it set up left-handed. So
I saw you do that. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna really push the bounds of trying to learn to play. I'm wanting to get my left hand stronger. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna do it sitting right-handed. let's go ahead and flip it around. So
Oh, good on you. I had always thought about doing that, but not sharing it publicly with like 4 people like you did. But
I'm like, well, I was hesitant. I will admit, yesterday when I was about to post that, I'm like, oh, this is going to be brutal. And I'm like, so I had to put that caveat of, look, I'm not left-handed. This is an experiment, and I'm just going to go with it. So
I read the disclosure statement.
I'm like, yeah, I was just hoping everybody would, because some people would be like flipping through, like, ugh, he is really terrible today. What happened?
Unfollow, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like, what happened? I lost 1,000 followers in 5 minutes. This is not good. But yeah, it's fun to push yourself like that from time to time, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I mean, I've been working kind of on that left hand as well, and just with like sitting with a practice pad and then starting rudiments with a left hand, and it's so strange that I mean, I could sit there all day long and do like doubles and 5-stroke stuff, but you want to start it with the left hand, it's like losing your mind because you can't do like simple stuff because you haven't really re-engineered your brain to start with that side. And for me, that's kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah, and that's it's wonderful that we as drummers we can find that I wouldn't say weakness, but that that part we need to work on, and and admit it, like, hey, I've got to work on my left hand and pushing it in that direction. So
right.
So moving into college, did you do still like did you do any of the college bands, or were you kind of just doing more garage band kind of stuff?
Yeah, I did some. I actually went back to guitar for a little while in college. I'd played a jazz festival my last year of high school and like had this decision at Berkeley, and I had a decision to make of like I wanted to get into teaching, and I said, well, what am I going to do? Do I want to teach music or do I want to teach English? And those were both kind of my loves was reading and I said, well, I could see myself really teaching English. So I actually went for an English education degree. Oh, wow. But I ended up staying, teaching or playing music in a few different bands at Fredonia, where I went to school. So, music just kind of stayed with me forever. Always had a kit set up or a practice pad, but I ended up moving more towards the English education while always keeping a pair of drums in my messenger bag. So
nice. So English, that's so you said you love to read and all that stuff. So that's it's super fascinating to hear these stories of what you think you're gonna do. Like I have a degree in criminal justice.
Yeah,
I'm not a cop, so or anything to do with the law enforcement end of being. I work in a medical warehouse. The exact opposite. So
right.
Well,
you really want to go like a complete offshoot right there to that is I was teaching in the Bronx and taught English in the Bronx, and then it morphed on this crazy journey that we probably don't have time to get into. That the last place I was actually working at before I came to Regal Tip was financial analytics for some of the bigger commercial real estate brokerages and smaller hedge funds.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was a ridiculous journey. So,
well, that is so fascinating. I love journeys. That's the thing. I think the whole podcast is just a journey, and I think it's just interesting to hear those stories. So saying it led you to Regal Tip. So how long have you been working for Regal Tip?
I've been here. I'm coming up on my 1 year anniversary.
Oh, okay.
In a month or two now. And it's been a ride. It's been amazing.
Oh yeah, I could imagine. To get into something that drums, and to get your passion and your work to kind of meld together. That's awesome.
And to be a part of such a family-owned, family-run company. I come from a really big Italian family. I mean, the Cottos have been family to me, and it's just been amazing to be a part of it. And like I just said, I came from that place of doing financial analytics completely away from reading, writing, arts, all this stuff. And I kind of came to a place in my life where I said, all right, enough's enough. I've totally lost sight of what I believe in, what I want to do. And like I said, I kind of got back to my roots. All right, well, what I want to do, it's always been the drum set made sense to me. Right. So
yeah.
I went back and My grandfather had passed away, and I was going through some of his stuff, and I found a pair of Regal Tip sticks, and I'm like, oh man, like
Talk about a sign, yeah.
Right. And then I called out to my cousin Gary in California, and I said, Gary, I want to be involved with this. I want to be involved with the music industry. I want to make this part of my life. I want to go back to kind of what I believe in and what I love, and I want to make that part of my day to day. And he goes, you have the connections with the Regal Tip. I mean, that's the 6 your grandfather played. Joe Colosimo, started the company all these years ago. Knew your grandfather, and reach out to him, and they brought me in, and we just had that connection. I'm so grateful to be a part of it. So that's kind of the story of me coming here, I guess.
Nice. I like, and to have that connection to your grandfather through Regal Tip is such a cool thing. And so I know this is like totally random, but being Italian, I am as well. Are you Sicilian? I always, when I get an Italian on, I'm like always ask the question.
It depends what kind of wine I'm drinking.
I hear you.
My mother's side was Sicilian.
Okay. My dad's side Sicilian. You probably recognized it from the Andolini part. So
that's right.
Yeah. But yeah, I just every time I have an Italian on, I'm like, oh, I have to talk Italian stuff just for like 30 seconds, then I'm good. We
got to be careful not to like code switch into that. How you doing?
How you doing? Yeah.
How are
you? Yeah, I use how are you so much that it's like I don't even say hey anymore. It's how are you?
If I went to an Italian restaurant, I'm like making up Italian words and saying things like "moron" and "monogolte" and everything, and it's see it's happening. We got to go back.
Yeah, or I love this one, gravy.
Oh, yeah.
No one knows what gravy is. I'm like, it's marinara sauce. Wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you don't talk to those people anymore. Yep.
Yeah. I hear you. Oh man. Yeah. Okay. Back to topic. Drums. Okay. So with Regal Tip. So what do you do exactly there at Regal Tip?
So I am in charge of artist relations. So basically, one of my biggest roles and responsibilities. It's kind of twofold. Mm-hmm. First and foremost is to continue building the rapport and maintaining the relationships with the artists that we have on our roster now. And I mean, I'm so proud of the roster that we have built, and then also to look to bring on and facilitate bringing on new talent and new faces. So that's my primary goal, and I mean it's a dream come true. You get to hang out with drummers and talk about drums, and get to the best drumsticks and accessories and brushes and everything in the world at their disposal. I mean, it's a dream come true.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's funny, following you guys on, social media and all that, I've noticed a change, and you're starting to reach out to the internet drummers, which I think, I'm like, it's a great thing, because you've got Joey Bones, you've got Freddie Charles, you've got Elise Trout, all these great internet, almost Instagram-based drummers, especially for Joey and for Freddie, and you're investing into them, which I think is so great.
Yeah. Well, it's not only about, I mean, a lot of it has to do with the promotion that they bring as a brand, and bringing our brand to that, caliber as well. But, I'll speak, and I'm sure Joey would be okay with it. But, I had a conversation with Joey at 9:30 at night after he got done with his other job. And we had a conversation just about drumsticks, just like we're doing now. And we talked about, our families playing and who influenced who. And it just, he's a legitimately good dude. Same thing with Freddie Charles. Same thing with even Elise. Just have tried to have personal conversations to get to know them as people more than just how many followers they have. So I think it's a fair thing to say, yeah, we do have those quote unquote, internet drummers, but those guys are doing amazing things outside of, even their Instagram, with Joey and the Morgan Friedmans, they kill it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
She came out with her record. Freddie's coming out with his record as well. But it is nice as well to have that engagement. Their communities, and they've been doing an amazing job promoting us as well.
Yeah, it still just blows my mind how incredibly talented Elise is for how young she is. I think she just turned 18, so she has a wealth of knowledge of not only drums, but, singing, guitar, bass, keyboard. She does the whole thing. And she's just so committed. And I love that about her, that she's just immersed herself into that culture. And, I think I told her on the podcast when I had her on, like, you're going to be huge one day. And, and it's just, and she already is to a certain extent, but one day, we're going to be looking back like, oh, Elise, gosh, I remember when she had, 100,000 followers and blah, 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 and, she'll have 200, million.
Right. I agree with you too. And I think even talking to her, what I think I respect most about someone like her is she's kind of, she kind of won the game as far as like social media goes, right? Mm-hmm. She kind of did what she needed to do and does it very well. Mm-hmm. But then talk to her. I mean, she's really about doing live performance, and she's really about creating art and building, her music, which is even more impressive because, she's pretty straight ahead forward saying, yeah. Okay. I got 100,000 followers plus, but what's really concerned about is building art and making art and something that I'm proud of. And I think that's what I really respect about someone like her.
Oh yeah.
On top of what you're saying.
Yeah. Cause I download her album and it's like, you hear influences of stuff that's, way over her age gap. She's influenced by the Police and, some, like Fleetwood Mac and stuff like that. And it's just, it reassures me as a musician that the younger audience is still, looking back to the past and grabbing those little things, but also still embracing the future as well. They've learned to balance it.
Yeah. And I mean, and same thing with like what you're talking about with social media. I think that's like a perfect synthesis of explaining, Regal Tip's motto as far as how we're looking at our social media is embracing the past. I mean, we have, some of the greatest players out there on our roster, but also looking towards the future with bringing these, newer people on who are coming up in the scene as well and giving them a shot and opportunity. And, it's working out well. It's a pretty symbiotic relationship. So
yeah, for sure. And, and I've noticed some other companies, doing that kind of same model of reaching out to the newer drummers because they're talented and they have a good presence about them. And but still, reaching out to your past players. Cause, in my opinion, I would say Alex Van Halen, is probably your biggest artist on your roster at Regal Tip, I would probably say, in my opinion.
I think maybe by name recognition, but you got guys who have been on here for forever, and nothing. Alex is awesome, an amazing player, but you got your Tichy, Sobel, you got Sutter. I mean, you got some big names as well that are people who have been on this roster for a really long time, pushing the brand. So, I mean, Chester Thompson.
Oh yeah. How do you can forget?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, but and then our brand has such a rich history, and it's like you said, it's not really known by younger generations, and we're really working on a lot of big social media projects, a lot of different projects to engage our audience. We're going to be launching a whole YouTube channel, things with artist interviews of the new artists, of artists who are on the roster. We're going to be doing a whole thing with Regal Tip product reviews with people from around the world who are getting a chance to, play our sticks, play our brushes, really understand, what separates, our sticks and accessories from anyone out there.
Yeah.
So, we got a lot of that going on in the back end too.
Yeah. Well, and, thinking of, I'm kind of dating myself, but I remember the first time I had played Regal sticks, it was Regal Tip sticks was in high school back in the 90s. It was the Alex Van Halen model. And, it took me forever to find it. There was just one stick company that dominated that time of my life that you just couldn't escape it. And it's great now you have options, and you can find, now I can go into Guitar Center and find your sticks, which is, a testament to how great they are.
No, we appreciate that. And there's not only, the brick and mortar stores, there's also there's a new store. I'll do a little plug real quick. It's called 716percussion.com. And they actually, it's a few individuals who came to us and they're like, we're having trouble finding your sticks. We love your product so much. We're going to pick up your entire line and make it accessible.
Nice.
And we're like, all right, we're totally down with that. We're excited about that. So, I mean, there's still going to be people who want to pick up the sticks, hold the sticks. But these dudes were just like, we love your, actually, they came to us about the 583 brush. They're like, it's a best-selling brush in the world. We love this brush. We've used it since we were kids. We're having trouble finding it. We want it ourselves, and we also want to push it and sell it. And we're like, all right, great. So,
yeah,
pretty good. So we're excited about that.
Oh yeah, and it's a new time in finding products. Like I said, growing up in the '90s, you couldn't you relied on your local music store, or you relied on a magazine like Modern Drummer or something, or your drum teacher, or a friend,
Right.
And now, with the internet and how accessible everything is these days, you can find things a lot easier than 20 years ago. Or yeah.
No, without a doubt. And it's I think it's good in a lot of ways. But I'll always have those times. I mean, there's Buffalo Drum Outlet in Buffalo, New York. I mean, I'll throw a plug out to him. There's nothing like going into his store and seeing a kit from, a Gretsch kit from the 40s or 50s just sit, an old school broadcaster or something, and seeing it in person. So, again, it's a give and take, but you're right. I think we're, at the foremost point of having everything so accessible to us on our fingertips here.
Yeah. And, and then being able to go online and, really research, you can, find diameters you like, the type of tip or the type of taper you like, it's a good time to be a musician for sure, and a drummer.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I love fielding the emails that, people are like, here's what I'm looking for, 16, 0.1 whatever by this, and they give me exact, and then some kind of tip that they made up. And, luckily we have 70 models of stick, and we developed a system on our website first that you're able actually to plug in the dimensions, and it pulls up every single model of stick that, we have that fits that description. And then, people can go for it and say, yeah, that might be something I want to try. And so that's, again, how it kind of works. They can go to their brick and mortar store and, pick up what suits them. And, that's the other great thing about Regal Tip that, I take a lot of pride in, is the variety that we really have. People don't realize they just, gravitate towards a 9A or an 8A because they know it. But I mean, we have so many different models that are catered towards every single style of playing.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I was looking through it the other day, and you can have some just like tree trunk sized drumsticks, down to the tiniest sticks for light playing. So you've got, and everywhere in between, which is it's just a fantastic system to have as a drummer, because there are those days you just want a big stick, and there's sometimes you need a very light stick, and you can easily get it.
I mean, I just had an order today from one of our artists, and he said, give me 12 pairs of 2BXs, and then give me 12 pairs of 7As. I mean, just crazy juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Like there's, little tiny sticks for light playing, and then just, beat the drum kit up.
yeah.
Those 2BXs, yeah.
I need some new heads after this little, gig. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So when it comes to Regal Tip sticks, where are they made exactly?
So they're made right in Niagara Falls, New York.
Okay, nice.
Yep, right in Niagara Falls, New York. Everything's made here, including all our accessories. Our brushes are made right in-house. We assemble everything right in-house. And we've been here since 1958.
Nice.
Oldest drumstick company out there.
Is it? Oh, is it really? I did not know that.
Yeah. Joe Collado actually invented the nylon tip.
Wow. See, that's what I love about this podcast. You learn something new every day. I didn't know that. Wow, that's interesting. Huh.
Yeah. Yep.
And so when it comes to the trees that you to get to manufacture the sticks, where do you guys like to do you have like your own plantation kind of setup you like to get them from, or what?
So we looked at two different places, Tennessee and Alabama, and basically the wood that we extract from from either place, depending on the season, depending on who has, the highest quality for that given time. Mm-hmm. We're pulling out, U.S. sourced hickory, or maple. Mm-hmm. And they come in on dolls, and then we have our different methods for the actual production of them. And, everyone has their own system of producing drumsticks. I mean, there's a multitude of processes available for the production of the drumsticks. And, we've kind of realized that everyone, all these different processes have their advantages and their shortcomings. But we have our director of operations and quality control. It's kind of taken a look at, all the different approaches and tried to figure out how we can be different than our competition, and truly understanding all the pros and cons of things like, I'm going to throw some terminology at you, some of the trade here, traditional, back knife lathes or centerless grinders, the CNC machines, and we've built a whole custom production line that takes the advantages of all those three different systems and wraps them all into one. And we're excited about the way that we do production, and we have something for everyone as far as being able to pump out a lot of sticks and do that individualized boutique custom production. We're able to kind of facilitate all of that here.
Nice. And have you ever looked in other types of like wood or anything like that? If you can't say, that's fine. But I'm always curious, like with like bamboo, because it's more of a fiber, but it's there are people out there trying to do bamboo sticks because it's more environmentally friendly and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of comes down to that. I mean, we've experimented with a lot of different products to figure out what is the best application for getting drumsticks in our hands, and really value that feedback. But at this point, we're just using maple and hickory. The bottom line is that it really comes down to a few different ways to make sticks and a few different places to get lumber. And what kind of takes us to that next level, or that different level, is always going to come down to our PEF, which is the performance enhancing finish. That is a proprietary finish. It was launched in 1958, and it's just been a staple in our drumstick offering since we began. And really, Joe Collado came up with that in thinking about helping a drummer to relax their hands and still maintaining control. So many people have tried to emulate that, but anyone that calls me that is like, I can't play anything else other than Regal, it's because of that. I mean, everyone's using hickory or maple to an extent, and I know what you're talking about with bamboo and the Japanese. And we've tried, we've seen, we've played, but all our artists are coming back and just saying, use the methods that are tried and true. I mean, they hold up, they make sense, they work, and if it ain't broken,
don't try to fix it. Yeah, for sure. And when it comes to I think you're the first drumstick company to be on the podcast. I think, could be wrong. The internet will correct me. But anyways, what do you guys recommend doing with sticks that are broken? Like, what is there a certain way you should dispose of sticks? I've always wondered that, because when I break a pair of sticks, I throw them in the woods. I'm like, I'm returning it back to nature. So I'm just curious, is that a conversation that goes on, or is that just me being crazy?
No, I mean, I bring home broken sticks to my fiance to just show her how strong I am. Because I certainly don't work out at a gym.
Yeah.
Just do blast beats for a few hours, and that's my workout. But
I hear you, brother.
For sure. No, I don't know. I don't think I've ever been asked that question. I do know that the Collado family and a bunch of the people who work here will take, broken sticks, and sometimes we'll do a big we do a camping outing, which is crazy, and it's amazing kindling.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from friends. It's like save it for when you're gonna do like a bonfire or something like that. It's good kindling and stuff like that. So it's a question that's always gone through my head. It's like, how do I properly dispose of a drumstick? Because it's
melt them down. I mean, if you throw them in a garbage can, they're gonna rip the garbage bag.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
So
I don't know. Maybe we need to get our head together and figure out a way to repurpose drumsticks here.
Yeah, because if you probably went out in the woods by my house, you would find this treasure chest of just broken sticks everywhere. Be like, what has happened here? But it's just what I thought was naturally to do. Just throw them in the woods.
Drumstick graveyard.
Yeah, pretty much. Nice. So what's in the works for Regal Tip? Is there anything that's that you guys are super excited about that's coming up, or just continue to work on your sticks and just continue to perfect them? Because I think that's every drummer and every drum builder or manufacturer, it's always about getting closer to that perfect whatever.
Yeah. Well, we can't give away everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Obviously. But I think one of the biggest things that we're going to really focus on is the audience that we're appealing to, and who's starting to pay attention to us and who we're paying attention to. We just released the Treyway on the one sticks. Those things are so cool. The dipped white sticks. I don't know if you got a chance to see them, but
I did. Yeah, that's all. It's pretty.
And there's like 4 prints on it, and they look amazing. But he's doing huge stuff, and really, really thinking about the way that we are appealing to this new generation. And I'll call a spade a spade. And I mentioned and hinted on this a little bit earlier, but kind of skipped a generation, like you said. You picked up a pair of sticks in the '90s and kind of stopped playing Regal Tip for whatever reason. So we want to re-engage that audience while also focusing on new audiences. And then the other thing that we're going to work on as well is, everyone loves talking about the drumsticks, but we make the best accessories and brushes that are out there.
Agreed. Yeah.
The 583 is the #1 selling brush in the world. You go, I don't care where you go, Indonesia, anywhere in the world, the 583 is the #1 selling brush. I think a lot of people are kind of going that resurgence back to jazz drumming, getting back to a lot of those fundamentals, and let us cater a brush that meets your needs. You have everything from the 583, then you go to the Sutter and the Hamilton, and people don't even realize that there's different wire gauges.
Yeah.
Everyone just thinks they have to pick up a pair of brushes and settle, but that's again with some of the things that we're going to start pushing with all the other products that we make as well, right here in Niagara Falls, New York. For forever, we've been here.
Yeah, well, and it's like cajon brushes. That's something that's relatively new to the market. Because you've probably had cajon players in the past, using metal brushes on a wood drum, and they're scratching it up and messing up the finish, and they're like, there's got to be something I can use that's going to create that brush effect, but not going to destroy my drum.
Right.
And that's one of the things you offer as well as cajon brushes, and also the low volume sticks and stuff like that for the acoustic gigs and things like that. People, I think a lot of times people are just like, oh, it's just drumsticks and that's it. Nope, right. There's a ton of different things. Even practice pads. You have practice pads as well.
Yeah, we have our gum rubber practice pads, and that's even something that we have in the works is coming out with different materials to have people have that kind of real feel to practice application. And Michelle Collado, granddaughter of Joe, is really spearheading this with her creative vision as well, and has a lot on the horizon here for the future. And you're going to see a lot of increased visibility, a lot of different product offerings, and you can really look forward to a lot of artist engagement. We're going to be pushing and relying on our artists to speak for the brand and promote the product that they're playing. And like you said, going back to those the internet drummers, I guess, if you want to say, we're going to have a combination of them and then people who are grinding on tour for 200 days a year. And, we brought in some pretty great bands, and I'm excited to be a part with. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and going back to Joey Bones, he's or just Joey. I don't know. It's funny because you want to call them by their Instagram name and not their name.
Right.
So
I didn't know what his last name was forever.
Yeah, me too either. I'm like, what is it? I'm like, oh, it's Pascal. Like, oh yeah, got it. But his engagement with his audience is so, he's very grounded. He's about talking to the people who comment on his videos, the stuff he posts.
He's so good at it. Like,
Yeah.
I literally texted him the one time, and I'm like, "Hey, Joey Bones, you don't like when I comment on something on your thing, you don't have to like do like a fire emoji and like respond back to me. Like, I'm just like saying what's up and having some engagement. But he's so into just that engagement, which is so important, and he like legitimately wants to build a relationship with the community that is following him.
Yeah. And I think it comes from, and I come from the same kind of, idea is like, I'm honored to be part of this community, and I would be doing it a disservice if I, turned out to be just a giant, a-hole to everybody, and it's easy to do, you get, that mentality like, oh, I'm known for this, why should I be nice to people? And that's going to be your downfall. And I think people realize that now, that if you, push this persona of like, I'm great, I'm above everybody, you're going to get pulled down really quick.
Well, and it's so easy to do that, right? With like the way that the internet works, you kind of get that like, keyboard hype or whatever. And so many people have those personas, especially in the music, community about, so this, I'm so this, I'm so this. And like, I that's why I give someone like you such props for just like setting up a kit left-handed and just being like, this is what I'm doing today. and just being real about that. And I really do. The people that we've mentioned and so many other Regal Tip artists, and I mean, so many other artists out there are doing that. And those are the people that we like working with. There's no exact science to any of this with drum. I mean, it's drums at the end of the day. If you're hitting them, you're playing them.
Yeah, exactly.
But put yourself out there. That's what I love to see.
Yeah. And, like I was telling somebody today, just be yourself, warts and all. And I think people are going to be more apt to, respect you, but also, like, have a connection to you. That you're a real person. You're not just some artist. You're, a Daniel or you're a Joey. You're just a person.
Well, I think that's probably the other part of my job, which is honestly the best part is, I tell all the Regal Tip artists that, if you are playing within 100 miles of the factory, like, let me know. I'll come out and hang out. I'll drum tech for you. And I think a lot of these like bigger named artists or people who are playing with some really big groups aren't used to people just kind of treating them as like normal people and having one-on-one conversations with them. And I've really, really enjoyed the opportunities where I've got to take people out for, a cup of coffee or, whatever. I recently, Beach Slang, Cully is the drummer, and he plays with so many people. He plays with Cursive. I mean, he's played just with Connor Oberst, and we went to Dinosaur Barbecue in Buffalo. We got to hang out and talk, and nicest guy in the world. And it was just nice to have that time to hear about him playing South by Southwest and so much. And I'll plug Real Friends. They're playing their huge tour with a bunch of other bands. They're coming through Buffalo, and I look forward to hanging out with Brian. We made his stick. He plays a Quantum 3000s, and it'll be a nice chance to get to know him on a one-to-one basis a little bit more and hang out with him again. So
it's fun just to have that ability just to have a conversation with somebody and just talk. I think that's something that's lost, and sometimes is the ability just to have a conversation with somebody regardless who they are. And just have a back and forth and just leading the conversation where it goes. We're talking about drums somewhat, but we're gone off topic a little, but that's okay. That's what I like about it.
Oh, it's good. I mean, and it weighs into everything too. I mean, that is again what I've tried to bring to Regal Tip, and what Regal Tip has really tried to emphasize as well is that one-on-one connection and that conversation. I think if you talk to any artist that we've brought on, I call them straight up, and I'm just like, look, we're gonna have a conversation. You're gonna get to know me. I'm gonna get to know you. Here's my personal cell phone. You're on the. You want to talk to someone? Give me a call.
Nice.
And I have so many people that are just like, what's up, Frank? How are you? And I love it. And I try to do the same with, a lot of the artists here, because, we're all just people trying to build relationships and just, it's just nice to have that one-on-one. And that's what I try to bring. And that's what Regal Tip brings to this market.
Nice.
It's not just, here, call waiting, press 1 for sales, press 2 for media. It's like, figure out what stick works for you, and I'll go hand weigh sticks.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I want them 98 grams. And okay, well, I bring out my gram scale and we go to town.
Nice. Yeah. It's it's like I said, it's just a fun time to be a musician, and it's moments like these. It reminds you, oh, we're all just musicians, just trying to better ourselves. It's not a lot of there's the heyday of being the egotistical drummer. I think it's starting to wane a little bit, which is awesome because it allows people just to be themselves and
Right.
have like I said, just have a conversation that's normal, not like oh, I just did this gig and it was so awesome. We played to 100,000 people, and the other band that opened for us, they were terrible. Not in trashing people. That just
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I mean that's always any advice I can give to younger drummers coming up on the scene is just be super kind to people. Especially if you're like on tour and I've played so many shows in Buffalo, New York, where there's like 16 people there, but you play your heart out, and you just be kind to people, and that's the other thing that I really want to help focus on is being involved with and growing the actual live music scene. I think it's so important.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Every city, and we could talk for hours about that, I'm sure. But
oh yeah, well that's always a good place to have a part 2.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But the question I always like to wrap up the podcast with is what is your hobby outside of being part of Regal Tip and being a drummer? Do you have something that is another passion of yours?
Yeah, well, right now I'm in the middle of planning a wedding, so I'm not allowed to have any hobbies. But at one point in my life, I did really like fishing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I love going fishing. I absolutely love it, and I love hopping on my motorcycle and going for a ride as well.
Nice. I've been fishing once, and my family almost got arrested because we didn't know you're supposed to have a fishing license. You just go out and fish.
Truck.
Yeah.
They'll take your truck. They'll take everything.
Yeah.
Well, what I encourage every drummer to go try fly fishing, because if you can get fly fishing, you can get the molar technique. It's the same whipping motion.
Nice.
It's the same whipping motion of the wrist.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Huh. I have to. My brother-in-law is big into fishing, so I might hey, just teach me this so I can learn this technique.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But I always ask that question because I think it's always important to to have that one thing that you can disconnect yourself from just a little bit, so you can let your brain relax. Like me, it's movies. I've been having fun. We've been watching Guardians of the Galaxy, and kind of revisiting that and some Marvel movies and things like that. I think it makes it's important to let your drum stuff down just a little bit and relax, and then you come back at it refreshed.
You've got to disconnect. You have to disconnect.
Yeah.
There's so much going on. I mean, you have to disconnect, and then I mean, even when you're trying to figure out stuff on the drums, I mean, take it back to that.
Mm-hmm.
You sit there for forever and try to figure out something, and then if you just leave it alone and come back to it and do something different, it helps to engage your mind in different ways to reapproach the kit and get a lot of the stuff done that you've been trying to work on. So I mean, I encourage it too.
Yeah.
So if you want to come fishing, you let me know.
All right, I will. If I make it up to you guys are based out of Brooklyn, right?
No, Niagara. We're out of Niagara.
Oh, Niagara
Falls.
Falls. Okay.
Yeah.
Mason had said that he thought it was a Brooklyn phone number or something like that. I'm like, oh, cool, Brooklyn. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
But I'd love to have you back on maybe in a couple months and see what's going on. I like to do the follow up podcast and just reconnect and all that. So.
Yeah, that sounds great. If you're ever around Buffalo, Niagara Falls, New York, come hang out with us. We'll take you out and get some good Italian food, and would love to do a follow up. And I really appreciate you having us on the show and me on the show. It's been a lot of fun, a great way to spend an afternoon.
Oh yeah, well, I really appreciate it. When I every day it just blows my mind. I'm like, Regal Tip. I'm talking to somebody from Regal Tip. That is amazing. So yeah, it's so humbling.
We appreciate it sincerely, and to be continued.
Oh yeah, we'll do a part 2. No Godfather reference there whatsoever. All right, well, appreciate you being on. So I'm gonna just go ahead and hit stop real quick.